Hey everyone, welcome back to the studio. I am going to be working on the same piece again today for part 3. But first I wanted to show you a little bit about my palette. I use freezer paper for a palette, just your Reynolds kitchen freezer paper that you buy in the grocery store. It is slick on one side and makes for a very easy cleanup. It's a wonderful mixing surface as well, and you can have a palette as large as you would like or as small as you need. And when you're finished painting, if you have paint left over, you can scoop that paint up, put it on a new piece of freezer paper, and save that paint, but throw the old palette away. So you have a fresh palette every day, and it's not terribly expensive. I also wanted to show you my palette because I wanted you to see that I am using oils, just your standard traditional oil paints in Gamblin and Charvin and Sennelier and Old Holland, just any brand that you would like to use. It's a matter of personal choice and just trying different ones and experimenting with different ones. But this is the palette of color that I have been using on the painting that I've done in the last 2 videos. And I also wanted to show you how I am mixing the oil paint with the wax in a 50-50 ratio. So what I tend to do for whatever type of palette that I'm putting out for the day is I put a certain amount of oil paint out and the same amount of cold wax. And then the oil paint is very glossy and shiny. So what you're looking for when you mix the wax is that it loses that gloss and becomes a matte finish. And that is the asphaltum. Then this is a titanium white. It's kind of like mixing cake frosting. It's a lot of fun. This is the warm white by Gamblin. And you see it changes to a beautiful matte finish. So I wanted you to see how I'm actually mixing your oil paints with your Dorland's or your Gamblin cold wax medium. And now we will start to paint. I'm going to start painting on this painting again today, and I think that I will concentrate for the first few minutes on this lower left corner and try to sort of pull that together. I like the way some of the other parts of the painting is going. So starting with the Brayer, and I had mixed the paint on my palette and rubbed the excess off on here, so you may see a little bit of a mix there that's picking up on the Brayer. But I think I need to lighten this corner in looking at the overall piece. I'm going to use a piece of the tissue paper and brayer over this so it forms some of the nice lines and marks. And as I showed you in the last video, you can use this as a transfer to move that color and the lines to a different area. Of the painting. Going back in with the Messermeister scraper to sort of smooth some of these areas. I'm just picking up different color. This is a warm white. Layering over top of the titanium and the other colors that have blended. This is the undercolor showing through. Remember those hard edges and soft edges. Blending with your fingers. Wear gloves if you choose to. Get that nice smooth blend when you use your fingers. This is an R&F oil pigment stick in the Steel to Grain. I'm just going to put some of that on and pull it out with the Messermeister scraper squeegee. R&F oil pigment sticks have a little less wax in them than what we are mixing with our paint, so they do come out a little bit glossier, and they do take just a little bit longer to dry, but they make a beautiful glaze. You can see how this leaves marks if you rub the painting. And you can take a bamboo skewer or something that has a sharp edge and actually scratch through for some of your mark making and asemic writing. I also paint quite a lot with the palette knife. I hope you can see that. I hope there's not too much of a glare. Just a lot of play, adding layers and taking layers away. Going to mix a little bit of color here with the warm white and the Chinese orange, which is a Sennelier color. Beautiful warm color. Scratch with your nail as well. really enjoy working with a warm palette. But in that warm palette, we do need to add some cool, which I'm going to do in just a minute. Most of us have a favorite palette, and I think it's very interesting to look at artists' work and see what color palette they gravitate towards. So if you have a favorite color palette, you are welcome to leave it in the comments below, because I'd like to hear what your favorite palette is. Anytime we have this much of a warm color palette, it's good to add some cools back in. So I usually add touches of blues and greens. And be sure that we move that around the painting so it is in different places. Like this, that sort of came up from underneath, so I'm going to spritz this area just a little bit and see if more of that will come back out. And you have to let it sit for a few seconds into a minute or so that the Gamsol lifts. It's a solvent lift. And I am scraping pretty hard to lift that off. Just letting this undercolor show through. Push that in and embed it just a little bit more. You can go over it. It also softens it, pushes it into the painting. And an important thing, when you feel that you are working a painting to where it is getting close to a finish, or to the point that you want to live with it for a few days and then make sure there's nothing else that you want to do to it, a great way of critiquing yourself is to turn your painting. So I want to do that now so you can see this painting in different orientations, and it just gives you a better idea as to what you may need to do to a piece next. After turning the painting in every direction and looking at it for a few minutes and studying it, I think I like it in this orientation. If if any of you have comments about which orientation you liked it better, I would love to hear your comments at the bottom. But for now, I am going to work on this piece in this direction. And I think I want to extend this to where it sort of runs off the edge. I usually wipe my brayers or clean my brayers with wet wipes or Gamsol and a paper towel or soft cloth. Then you can clean them with soap and water as well after you get the oil and wax off. See how the under layers are showing through. My favorite saying to my students is, create a history, provide a mystery, and make your mark. So that's what I'm trying to do most of the time in each of my paintings. This is an alizarin orange in the R&F stick. I'm going to try to put a little bit of that here, and you can see there's some of the mark making from the art graph. And I'm going to pull this over top so it will be transparent, but still show through. And I may do a little bit of that in this area. see how beautiful that lets everything underneath show through. And don't forget to stand back occasionally and look at the piece and kind of see what direction you feel that it's going in. What, if anything, more needs to be done to that piece? And I feel that this piece is reaching a certain point towards a more finished state. I'm really liking what I have at this point. So what I typically do now is I will live with it for a few days and see if there is anything else that I feel that I need to do to the piece, any certain section. That I want to work on. So I think I'm going to leave it for now, and I really hope that you have enjoyed the videos, and I hope you'll tune in again. Let me know what you think in the comments below.